This program is presented by University of California Television. Like what you learn? Visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the latest UCTV programs.
We went into the homes of 32 families. The families all had parents who worked, both parents worked outside the home at least 30 hours a week.
And we designed an ethnoarchaeological component that really addressed the questions of how people use their built environments, how they use space, how they interact with their material culture, the material worlds of middle class, dual income families with children.
Come in.
I like this chair.
And we systematically documented what people have in their homes, where they keep it.
And it was that first day when I saw he had a camera, he's taking pictures. And we had tidied up. When I heard the first cupboard open, and I went, oh no. He's taking pictures of the insides of the cupboards too. All of these little figurines and the napkins and things. And
The archaeologists counted every single thing in every single space, every single room. So we have a document of the number of objects that are in kids' rooms, the number of objects that are in kitchens and living rooms. It's really fascinating.
One of the things that we discovered and documented is that contemporary U.S. households have more possessions per household than any society in global history. And hyper-consumerism is evident in many spaces like garages, corners of home offices, and even sometimes in the corners of living rooms and bedrooms and the kitchen and the top of the dining room table.
Shower stalls.
There's the shower stalls. We find lots of stuff.
Piles.
Piles of stuff.
Mountains.
And it's clearly in some of these households creating some significant stress for the families, particularly the mothers.
The finding was that women who looked around their homes and saw clutter and remarked on the clutter and remarked on the effect of the clutter on their lives, mainly that it was it was like an ever-present, continuing, ongoing burden for them to manage, that those women, when we looked at the cortisol levels of the women, their cortisol was very high.
so this is, yes, a very crowded bedroom. All the reading that I haven't gotten done.
A house could be full of clutter and nobody cares.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
And it was generally the case that men, they didn't even remark on the clutter. So there's a greater tendency to remark on the clutter if it bothers you, if you're the one who's responsible for tidying it up.
We have lots of stuff. We have many mechanisms by which we accumulate possessions in our home, but we have few rituals or mechanisms or processes for unloading these objects, for getting rid of them.
Things come in from all sides, they really do. They come in from gifts and birthday parties and holidays and from relatives and those kinds of things, and school and treasures, as I call them. I have always been a treasure hoarder. So, a rock or a branch or something, and my kids then ended up that same way.
There are a lot of forces that encourage us to consume, and obviously this is the entire advertising industry, right? Millions of dollars invested to get us to purchase things. This book is really meant to get us to think about how we consume objects, to think about the number and types of toys we consume and give to our children.
The United States has 3.1% of the world's children, but consumes 40% of the world's toys.
Of course, children in all societies have something that is similar to toys, But the sheer quantity of toys is really astonishing from the cross-cultural point of view, and how the toys spill out everywhere in the house as well is also staggering.
We found in the study that children's toys and objects were in living rooms. They were in spare bedrooms. They were in their own rooms, of course. They were in kitchens. They were even sometimes in master bedrooms.
There's some blurriness to the idea of a toy, because the parents have a lot of sentimental involvement in these toys as parents. And one of the things we soon realized is that the toys themselves were toys for the parents as well as for the children. The house actually had a kind of child culture about it as a whole, or it became a child-centered house.
Some of it's nostalgia, right? I mean, Snoopy, he's a cultural icon. How many children actually, recognize Snoopy in the contemporary? I think Snoopy's almost an artifact of, of our childhood. I think the sheer density and availability and fairly inexpensive array of objects that are out there, this has significantly changed over the last 50 years. We found cheaper ways to produce more stuff. And because of that, there is more available. The reality is that we're perhaps spending more on children's material culture, on toys, than ever before in the history of humanity. One of the chapters of the book is devoted to looking at what people have in their pantries, what they have on the shelves in their garage by way of food, by way of what we found to be stockpiled food and stockpiled household goods. We walked into some family homes and we found that in addition to refrigerators and freezers in the kitchen being packed full of convenience foods, the freezer that was in the garage as part of that secondary refrigerator, which is not uncommon in American family homes, was also stocked full of these convenience foods.
If you brought someone from Rome or from a town in Sweden and you showed them the size of the refrigerator in the kitchen and then walked them to the garage and they saw the size of the refrigerator in the garage, they would be pretty astonished. The refrigerator then becomes something to think about culturally, like why do we have these big refrigerators? What is that saying about food in our society?
Dual-income families with children face scheduling challenges that single adults do not, and that's how do I coordinate shopping trips, going to the grocery, around school schedules, around afternoon pickups, around the myriad of obligations that emerge from coordinating 2 or 3 calendars on a daily basis. So parents perhaps find that it's easier to shop maybe only once a week or once every 2 weeks. So fewer shopping trips, bigger shopping trips when we go do them. And so hitting the big box stores like Costco or Target.
I think that's true. We still do go to Costco. And when we're there, we'll go, oh, yes, we need 96 granola bars. We need them.
40 batteries.
Yeah, and we still have some of the residue of that. If I were to walk through my kitchen right now, you're right, I still have a cupboard full of batteries, even though we don't have that many devices that need those batteries anymore.
In addition to this, you would find shelves in garages and in pantries that would be overflowing with pallets of bottled water and juice drinks and paper towels and cleaning products, multiple versions of the same things.
The reason for having such large refrigerators, having such large freezers, was because we were putting inside the freezer especially boxed items that were pre-packaged convenience foods.
Chicken nuggets, frozen pizzas, fish sticks, French fries, things that could be cooked, that could be prepared from cold to hot in very little time.
There are now, on average, 400 linear feet of frozen foods available in these big box stores and these big grocery stores. This contributes actually to the way that families are consuming their meals with so much prepackaged and frozen food available. We're getting more and more family dinners that are actually these segmented, independent mini meals. The kids insist on eating something different because they know that mom can fix it easily with this prepackaged food. And our data show that only 1 in 6 meals is eaten together by the entire family.
Families have bought into this idea that use of these foods will somehow save time in the preparation of meals at the end of otherwise busy and hectic work days and school days. In the end, some of the self-researchers found that families are only shaving off about 12 minutes per meal.
We started doing something. We go to a business that provides ingredients, and we don't cook, but you package all the ingredients for a particular meal. This is what your typical dinner would look like.
Oh, right.
So you package all the ingredients to make a sauce, you get the meat, and then you get all the cooking instructions.
That's fantastic.
You unfreeze it,
Yeah.
and then ta-da, dinner in a sack. It's absolutely fabulous.
That's very good.
It's certainly a strong pattern. And we saw this recurrently across the 32 families, not all of them, but many of them. And it really indicates these consumption patterns that have changed over the last couple of decades. We want to go to the store fewer times per week. And this is particularly true for middle-class families with both parents working and have 2 or more children. It's a lot of work shopping with kids, and this is a way to get around that. But there are very real material consequences. This book is very much a visual ethnography. We used some 20,000 digital photographs for 32 families' homes as the basis of the analysis, and we went in and looked for themes, for patterns, and how families were using their homes, and the kinds of things that they imported into various home spaces. Kitchens, for example, were these centers of intensive and frequent activity.
If you look at the data points of where family members are every 10 minutes, you'll see lots and lots of little dots that are in the kitchen. And that's because the kitchen is used for almost everything else, but no, it's used for eating, but it's also used for a lot of other things. If there's going to be a clock in the house, the clock is going to be in the kitchen, because the kitchen is what Anthony calls the command center of the house.
Everything transpires in kitchens, and activities are organized, schedules are coordinated, plans are made for the next day, meals are cooked, kids are doing homework in kitchen spaces, very, very intensively used. And a lot of the material culture in kitchens speaks to this logistical center of everyday family life.
I think of the table itself as kind of a touchstone. It's the place where everyone wants to aggregate, even when there are wonderful facilities that were designed for the kids to do their homework, for example. Inevitably, they're out at the kitchen table, and that's convenient for the moms too, of course. They can do childcare, they can multitask with dinner preparation and childcare.
That is our refrigerator, or was our refrigerator. I mean, I look at these and it just gives me joy to see this stuff, because these were treasures that were very near and dear.
Yeah, it's amazing how the refrigerator is a site of memories and plans. And
Yes, this is memories. So
one of the studies that Jean and Anthony did was look at the family refrigerator door as a major site of this kind of nostalgia and sentimentality for the family, looking at how many different photographs and other personal things about children's art and lots of little things about the family that went on the door, so much that you can't even see the door. The door is just filled with the family culture, the family history.
There seems to be a kind of a correlation between how much stuff is on the refrigerator panel door and how much stuff is in the broader home.
So there's still, like, these are notices for dentist appointments, but those are one-timers.
And these are school
This is all,
things.
you know, if your kid's going to be sick, how do you call in sick? Because I never remember how to do that. A school calendar for the days.
And this pizza?
These are pizza coupons that Lucas, now look at, this is going to, because this shows stuff gets up here and it never, ever leaves. I think the expiration date on these is like 2 years ago.
We also found some interesting patterns that emerged in bathrooms. Bathrooms are where we start the day, right? And so we put on our face, we put on our clothes, we look at ourselves, we check in, we make sure that everything's there. We psych up for the workplace and for school. And so they end up being these anticipatory spaces where we're anticipating the day to come.
Not only is my fridge the site of, but our bathroom mirror has become the schedule central. Because we
wait to
have
see
a
it.
really big bathroom mirror, so anything that the kids are doing that's important gets taped up there. Because I won't always open the fridge first thing in the morning, but I will always brush my teeth and look at myself in the mirror.
Bathrooms are also perhaps one of the most contested resources in families' homes. A lot of the families' homes that we were in had only one bathroom. And when you have to cycle everyone through that space within a span of about 30 to 45 minutes before shuffling everyone off to school and work, it can be stressful. You're coordinating opportunities to visit the bathroom. As a result, we found that there's a lot of sharing and family strategies for dealing with this very finite and limited resources. Stack multiple people in there. And because of that, these were interesting sites of child socialization.
One of the clear ideals of these parents is to create a master bedroom environment that represents a retreat, a spa-like retreat from the crazy chaos in the rest of the house.
This is perhaps one of the least intensively used rooms in the home. Not a lot of activities were unfolding in master bedrooms, but what you might find surprising is that this, out of all other home spaces, this was prioritized more frequently as a space for remodeling. In 2004, the average cost of creating a master suite in the greater Los Angeles area was about $80,000.
Their money would have been much better spent on places that are clear bottlenecks in these homes, bathrooms that are overly busy during the morning rush, or kitchens that are often described by the family members themselves as too small, too out of date.
I can think of nothing that more potently speaks to the significance of this space to parents. And we might even think of the master suite as a symbolic space. If they're like my family, you just crash, you fall asleep because you're tired and you're exhausted. But you get to wake up in that space. And these are spaces that were made to look more hotel-like, look more resort-like. And they were intentionally decluttered as well. And so this is opportunity for parents to wake up in a space that looks qualitatively different than the rest of their home. And for that reason, because of that, parents might have conferred some kind of restorative benefits out of this. This is a place to charge your batteries, a place of refuge to prepare yourself before you go back out and face all of the work that is contemporary American family households and beyond.